Welcome to BuildForce Canada's Productivity Series. Each episode will focus on one aspect of productivity. We hope you'll find them informative and useful as we all strive to improve our competitiveness. Remember, how we work is how we win.
Hello, my name is Jeff Griffiths. I'm a certified management consultant, certified training and development professional at Griffith Shepherd Consulting Group and Go Productivity in Calgary. Now, for the last 20 or so years, I've been studying competency and the impact that it has on organizational performance. And what I want to do today is share with you some research and encourage you to start looking at the way you manage and develop your human resources, your human capital, in a different way. Other webinars in this series have looked at the competency issue from different angles. I want to dive right in and get into the operational level, actionable stuff that you can implement in your organization to see some results. So we're going to look at 5 main topics. First off, what is this competency thing and why you should care at all? What is the proof that investing in this just makes good business sense? I'll look at some of the reasons why companies aren't investing in it. Some specific steps and actions that you can take to develop an internal competency program that will deliver the results that you want, and what those results will be. So first off, what are we really talking about when we talk about competence, and why does it matter? In our practice, when I mention competency, what I'm talking about is skill and knowledge applied in a particular context for particular outcomes. And technical skills are a big part of that, but they're not the only part of that. There's also the underlying foundation skills, literacy skills, what in Canada we call essential skills, and higher level cognitive skills, what OECD refers to as 21st century skills. And these are the things that allow someone, first off, to learn in the first place, and then to apply what they know to solve problems, new problems, use those skills and knowledge in new ways, and through that process, learn even more. So clearly what I'm talking about here is beyond the basics. It's beyond compliance training. Why would you want to invest in that? Now, I think it starts by going back to the fundamentals, like, why are you in business in the first place? Now, Peter Drucker, who for us management consultants, he's kind of like Yoda. The late Peter Drucker put it better than anybody else ever did or ever could. What he said years ago was the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. And I'll add to that, if what Drucker said was true, and I certainly believe that it was, you can derive what I've always called Drucker's prime directive, which is that the fundamental task of every organization is the continuous creation and delivery of value in the eyes of its customer. So how do you do that? Who does that in your organization? Who's responsible for that? When we look at organizations, and more specifically the leadership function in organizations, we look at 3 foundation duties: achieving the task, developing the individuals, and building and maintaining teams. And we use a 3-circle diagram to illustrate the concept. And the performance of an organization exists at the intersection of the 3 circles. Now, the primary task is delivering value for your customer. That's critical. It's how you survive. It's how you stay in business. Everything that happens in the organization must support the goal of delivering value to the customer as effectively and as efficiently as possible. That's why it's the top circle. But that circle is supported on a foundation of individual and team competence. Investments in competency at that level, individuals and teams, pays huge dividends. This isn't an opinion. It's certainly not my opinion. It's a fact. And we can prove it. The Business Development Bank published a study on business growth. They surveyed a few thousand Canadian businesses and tracked the winning strategies that drove the highest growth companies. The number 2 strategy was build your talent pool. And it's interesting. The number 1 strategy was serve your customer. And other data and other studies confirm this as well. In the United States, the Association for Talent Development, which used to be called the American Society for Training and Development, publishes an annual State of the Industry report. I've been reading these since about 2000. And year after year, what they show is that the companies who invest more in growing their people, in upgrading skills, consistently outperform others in their industry who don't. And if generalized industry statistics aren't good enough for you and you want to see construction industry specific stuff, okay. Canadian Apprenticeship Forum reports $3.08 benefit to the employer for every $1 invested in essential skills upgrades. BuildForce Canada found the ROI on essential skills upgrading for apprentices up to $26.34 for every dollar invested. And okay, you're saying, oh yeah, well, but that's ES. That's essential skills. I need real skills, hard skills, technical skills. Okay, how about this then? Wayward Steel, Edmonton, Alberta. A little over 5 years ago, as a result of some horrific accidents, decided to focus on individual technical competency, people doing things right, and upgrading skills wherever necessary. What's the result? Well, since then, over 5 million man-hours without an LTA. That's better than 800% improvement over the historical averages. They've cut their workers' comp insurance costs close to 50%. They've saved about $1.5 million over 3 years in direct cost savings as a result of the safety improvements. Now, if you're interested, you can download the report on this from the Canada West Foundation website. In that same report, talks about Canadian Natural and their bolted joint integrity management program. And a big piece of this was specific skills upgrade for the maintenance people on shutdowns and turnarounds who were going to be doing flanges in the refineries and the upgraders at Canadian Natural. As a result of this program, there are over 40,000 flanges now without a leak or a fire coming off of shutdowns. It's resulted in a 30% reduction in their maintenance costs and millions of dollars in savings. These are real, hard, serious numbers. Real dollars. Developing competency has a direct bottom line impact. If you want to grow your business, you need to start by growing your people. And these numbers aren't new. The benefits of doing this have been clear for decades. So why aren't more companies investing in skills upgrades and skills improvement for their workforce? People do safety training, and they should. Absolutely, safety training is important. But there aren't a lot of companies that are doing more than the minimum required legally. And it makes no sense. But despite all of the data, all of the science, there are still organizations and leaders in this industry and others that are living in the late 19th, early 20th century as far as management thinking goes. Too many companies are still using what Douglas McGregor called Theory X management. And that was in his 1960 book, The Human Side of Enterprise. 1960. This is not new. You may or may not be familiar with McGregor's work, but for those who aren't, here's a quick and dirty summary. Basically, Theory X managers and their organizations believe that people are fundamentally lazy, need to be coerced into working, and they're only in it for the paycheck. Theory Y managers and organizations believe that people want to do good work, are motivated by feeling that what they do is valued and valuable, and they work for a higher purpose than just the paycheck. Or if you want to put it in even simpler terms, here's your Theory X manager. And unfortunately, we still have far too many Theory X people and organizations in this industry. And it's interesting because if we ask managers about this, overwhelmingly they believe that they are Theory Y people. But then they'll point out that the people who work for them need Theory X approaches or nothing will get done. And that would be amusing if it wasn't so tragic. Old habits die hard. And despite all the advances in the science, all the evidence, we're still running organizations as if the people were cattle and they needed to be driven in order to do anything. There's an element of the self-fulfilling prophecy here. People will live up to or down to your expectations. You'll get what you deserve. So what are the excuses? Why don't people do this? Cop-out number one. It isn't my job to do what the school system should have done. Well, the school system of yesterday can't solve today's problems. It can't solve the problem for your current workforce, who aren't in school anymore. Working age adults. The school system cannot do anything about the basic skills of foreign-trained adult immigrants, who are making up a larger percentage of the workforce. The school system can't do anything about the outdated skills of older workers or the changing needs of your workplace that are being driven by changes in technology or changes in customer expectations. So guess what? It is your job. And for that, go back to Drucker's Prime Directive. Cop-out number two. If I train them, they'll get another job and I'll lose my investment. There's an element of truth to that. You might. There is risk. And it doesn't matter what you do. Some people will leave. Generally, people leave because they aren't being trained and developed, or they leave because they're being treated like cattle. Theory X again. And they figure if they're going to be treated that way, they might as well go and get treated that way for more money. That's a bigger problem than we can deal with here, but as I said, it's related to the Theory X approaches to managing and organizational leadership. But the evidence that people leave if you invest in them is frankly wrong. And for that, let's look at Exhibit A, which is Boeing Aircraft Canada in Winnipeg. Granted, it's a manufacturing example, not a construction example, but it's a good example, and I'll use it. Now, Boeing invests in people. They train them for the job they've got now, but also for jobs that they expect them to be having to do in the future. Boeing gets 2% turnover on their employees every year, when the industry as a whole works at around 10%. And they're getting 3% productivity growth year over year. Boeing has minimum onboarding costs because their turnover is so low. And because of that, they have more money to invest in the people that are left. People don't leave because they want to work there, because they feel valued, and because the employer is investing in them and improving their skills. The fact that they don't leave gives more money for the company to continue to invest in those skills. And that creates a virtuous cycle. Employees feel valued. They're growing in their careers, they're more engaged, they're more productive, they're more interested in staying with the employer. That generates higher productivity, which generates better profitability for the organization, which gives them more money, which allows them to continue to invest in those skills, and it's a vicious circle, in this case a virtuous circle. And it really negates the argument that if I invest in them, if I train them, they will leave. The evidence, in fact, points that it's a bigger danger not investing in them. People leave because they aren't growing and improving, or worse yet, they aren't growing and improving and they stay. Cop-out number 3, I'm not convinced that it'll make any difference in my business. Maybe not. It could be that your business is so unique that the evidence collected in thousands of companies, in dozens of industries from around the planet don't apply to you. It's possible, but seriously, what are the odds? How unique are you really? The evidence is overwhelming that if you invest in skills upgrades, competency upgrades in your people, good things happen. If you think that investing in competency isn't going to improve your business performance, you need to re-examine your mental models about the value of work, the value of workers, and why you're in business in the first place. Cop-out number 4. I can't afford to dedicate staff as trainers, and I can't afford to hire it out. Have you looked at what it really costs? Have you investigated the grant opportunities, the funding assistance that's available for this? Things like the Canada Job Grant. Because you might be surprised at just how little it costs per employee, even if you outsource the whole thing. And if you use internal resources, on-job training, coaching, mentoring, the cost is essentially zero. If you do it right, it leads to an increase in productivity and performance, so it actually earns you money. The bottom line is that you need to find a way to do this. So let's make the assumption that we want to do this, but we're not sure where to start. It can be a bit overwhelming. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. 3 steps. Identify, quantify, rectify. Identify your top performers. Who are your best people? And what is it about them that makes them the best? What specific skills and competencies do they possess that makes them better than their peers? And it might not be technical skill. Because the thing that comes out of all the studies that we looked at is that it isn't always the people with the highest technical skills who are your top performers. And that's important to understand, because in a world where flexibility and adaptability and autonomy are becoming more and more important, we need to focus more on the higher level collaborative, cognitive, problem-solving, decision-making, creativity, communication skills that allow people to solve problems and work together. And those people, those skills may be more valuable than technical skills. So quantify it. Identify those skills. Identify what makes things work in your organization. What are the key skills? Benchmark everybody against them. Identify, quantify those gaps. And that'll take some effort, but it's worth it. You need to involve your people in this. It's a change management process. You can't use this as a culling exercise. You need to use it as a growth exercise. You need to involve your frontline people, and particularly your frontline leaders. Get help from outside if you need to, because the time that and investment is worth it. And then rectify. Define specific training and learning that will build the required skills. That could be technical skills, it could be essential skills, it could be the higher level meta skills we talked about, like working in teams, problem solving, critical thinking, decision making, communication, whatever. Determine what the best way to fill those gaps is. And in our experience, we believe the first choice, the best choice, should be internal mentoring and coaching. And there's 2 reasons for that. First is because it values the skills of your existing workforce and builds internal capacity and engagement. Secondly, it's cheaper and more effective if you do it right. It's 100% focused on your work, your culture, your products, and your customers. And that's way better than trusting it to an outsider. Outsider contractors, consultants can help setting up effective mentoring programs, coaching and on-the-job training programs. They can help teach specific skills to your people so they can do good mentoring, coaching, and on-the-job training. But that actual learning, that actual skills transfer is far more effective and better if you do it peer-to-peer in-house. Because then it becomes a continuous cycle. And so you identify those people with the highest skills in the areas that you've identified that are important, and you train them to coach and mentor other people. And you do this regardless of where they exist in the corporate hierarchy. The apprentice can coach the CEO if the skill sets are appropriate. And look for opportunities. Continuous on-the-job learning and competency development is the secret sauce for performance. And use the same on-job mentoring approaches that are so successful in apprenticeship. And I should probably quantify or qualify this. I mean properly conducted apprenticeship. Not, by gosh, by golly, we hope you learn something eventually while you're pushing that broom kind of apprenticeships. I mean the other kind, the good kind, the kind you want your kid to be involved in, the kind that people should be doing. Follow those approaches and you'll actually, the learning curve in your organization, the capacity improvement in your organization will be outstanding. Look for workplace problems and treat those as improvement and learning opportunities. Use collective learning to solve problems and grow capability. Talk about problems. Practice group learning and problem solving. Always be learning. Teach your frontline supervisors to think and act this way. And think and act this way yourself. There's no shortage of learning opportunities in every organization if you look for them. And the more you look, the easier it gets to find them and the better you get at using them to grow capacity. Commit to this for the long haul. Do it iteratively. Follow that same plan, do, check, act cycle that you'd use for any improvement initiative. Miracles won't happen overnight. If you stay at it, the results will come. It's not a destination, it's a journey. So what will it look like if you embrace this? I don't know what your numbers are like in your company, so I can't give you hard numbers. But as an employer, you're going to wind up with a more flexible, agile, adaptive, and engaged workforce. A workforce that delivers better customer value with fewer accidents and mistakes. Higher productivity, better quality, lower cost, which means more profit. For employees, they get more meaning in their work. That leads to higher engagement. They have more pride in themselves, their career, their work, and their workplace. They're safer. They have better job security because their company does better. A focus on competencies beyond technical skills and definitely beyond mandated safety compliance training is the secret sauce that leads to competitive advantage. It's win-win-win. You win, your employees win, and your customers win. And that means more dollars in your pocket. So I want to leave you with a final quote from the late Peter Drucker. Knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased constantly, or it vanishes. So what are you doing to continually make your organization smarter tomorrow than it is today. Standing still is not an option. Standing still is going backwards. If you want to grow your business, you need to grow your people. Thank you.
For more information and to watch the rest of our webinars, go to buildforce.ca.